Alright guys, Dan with Mad Nasty Trapping here. I'm going to start the first of 3-part series of prepping and getting your possum ready for the fur market. Okay? Now, first things first, what we're going to do here is I've got my possum right here. He's tied up. I start him off by the tail. I tend to figure out that this is the best way to go about it. Personal preference here, to keep them on the gambrel rack as far as possums go for the cuts you need to make. You're not worried about saving the tail like you would on a coyote or a fox or a raccoon. So the tail holds no value and the fur ends at the tail anyway. So I usually go and clamp it with a pair of vice grips to the middle of the gambrel rack. And that's where we're going to start our first cuts. Now, first step, and any time you go and start skinning down a fur-bearing critter, you always want to get your gloves on. Rubber gloves work fine. These gloves right here, I picked them up online. And I can't really read the labeling on there, but these are cut proof or cut resistant gloves. When you're fleshing out, you're worried about the critter, you're worried about the fur, and slip ups happen. I had a pretty good accident skinning down a critter last year, and yeah, I don't want to do it again. Slipping through a hide with a knife late at night, it's not really the way to go. So you got your vice grips on top, your tail clamped down. Now we laid them out yesterday. We laid them out with the legs spread, and as you can see, it's a whole lot easier to do your first cuts with the legs spread. If you go and you do not set them out, lay them out on a table with the legs spread, those legs will tend to curl in the middle, and when they curl in the middle, you have to really fight, pull, and hold them and work your way around it in order to get your first cuts made. Laying it out on the table, spread out, so when it stiffens up, it's easier to start your first cuts. I just find that personally it's an easier method to go to start off skinning an animal. Good. Now, the first cut you're going to make on just about any critter you do is around, you're going to ring around each foot right there. So you're going to take your knife and ring around your legs. On almost any other animal, with the exception of a possum, when you're doing your first ring around the legs, you want to make sure you do not cut that tendon. You cut that tendon, it's going to be tough to keep it hanging on the rack. But because we're not hanging this possum on the gambrel rack like you typically would off the hooks, cutting through the tendon is really not a big deal. Now I'm going to go slow on this hide to show you each individual step on how it's done. Okay, I want to show and do an instructional on this. Now I can do these things fairly quickly. I can rip them down and be about 5 minutes. I figure this video is probably going to be about a half hour or thereabouts. But I want to make sure that I cover every step in as much detail as I possibly can, because it is an instructional for people that are just learning or want to become more proficient on their skinning of their trapped animals. Okay, so you can check and see that all the way around you have your ringed out cuts. Okay, that's step one. The next step is to go and do a straight line cut. I usually use a longer knife on my first cuts to make sure that I can get as straight a line as possible. It's easier when you go to boarding the animal to get a nicer presentation on the board if your first cuts are made straight. It's easier to go and tack them out on the boards. Okay, so you start at the bottom and you will go and slide your knife up the fur, and you want to slide that knife right between the meat and the hide. You're going to slide it all the way up to the base of that tail. Okay? You're going to come back through and do it on the other side. Slide it between the meat and the hide with the sharp edge of the blade up, and you are going to work your way in a straight line all the way up to the base of the tail, where the fur ends and meets what looks almost like scales on the tail there. Okay. Switching over. Now I can switch over to a smaller knife because I'm not worried about making straight cuts. And you are going to go and separate out your hide from the meat. And once you get some good cuts started, you're able to grab with your thumb. You can grab and pull and separate your hide from your meat. Be careful on these possums. I've noticed that the possum hides, unlike a lot of other critters, and especially coon, your possum hides are a lot thinner, and they're not worth that much. They're worth about $1 to $1.50 at market in today's value, or today's market. But you know, you got the animal off the line. You really want to, you know, if you got nothing else to skin anyway, why not take the time and do a good, proper skinning of the animal, being precise on your cuts, and it's good practice for the other animals that you do. So take your time on your possums, even though they're not worth a lot, and use them for good skinning practices for your other animals. Now this one right here is a female. Possums have a pouch in the middle that they carry their young until they carry them on their back when they get a little bit bigger. This pouch right here in the middle is very, very, very easy to rip. So we want to be careful in that area. I don't want to start really yanking and pulling on this hide extremely hard because I will rip that pouch area. So I just want to be careful on that. Okay, now I work on the second leg here. Again, separating the hide from the meat. See, I just slipped with my knife and I just caught my hand. That's why I wear the cut-resistant gloves. Give it a good start. Get that leg good pull out. Okay, continue working up the hide all the way to the base of the tail. You can go between your two cuts on the base of the tail and run your knife up, separating out your base of your tail hide. And just like when you do coons, it is not a bad thing to leave as much of that hide, or as much of that fat on that hide as possible. The more fat you leave on the hide, actually the easier it is on the fleshing beam. Okay, so you can start working it down. Work your hide all the way down Again, separating that nice hide from the carcass. And that pouch area is going to be visible here. You really want to try your best to avoid cutting it. Okay, spinning it around, getting it down the back. You want to save as much fur as you can. So I like to run it up the tail. Now, I'm running this way higher on my gamble rack than I typically would, just for the sake of running video footage for you guys. It is a whole lot easier when you work at a good, shoulder level here. But for the sake of the video, I'll work above my head level, and then it'll get easier as I get further down the hide. So just keep ringing around that tail, saving as much of the fur up the tail as possible. And run a nice knife line around your tail. Don't cut all the way through. You don't want it falling off the vice grip here. And then work it down. Okay, once you get a good portion of the way down the back, you can grab by the base of the tail, and you can grab that hide and work it down just below the leg level. Okay, remember, when you work the back, you want to go just below the leg level and free that up. That way it is even all the way around. And I can see that I'm already punching a hole just by that gentle pulling a hole in the pouch. When you see in the boarding process that pouch, I don't know if it really holds all that much value, but what I do with that pouch, because it is a double layer, it tends to dry pretty slowly, and it tends to get a lot of mold and hair slippage in that area. So just like I would be boarding a raccoon, I will go and board the female possums by creating a viewing window, as you will see in my other skinning video and boarding video and fleshing video. You can see the skinning of it. I cut a viewing window in the middle, as you would a raccoon, just to eliminate and cut out that pouch pocket. And when it's on the board and it gets dried and it goes to market, personal opinion here is, I don't believe personally I'm going to lose any money by cutting that pouch out of there, because primarily they're using the fur on the backside, okay, as a trim fur. So losing that pouch on the front side, I think it's better to eliminate that pouch, create a viewing window to really show off the quality of the fur through that viewing pouch, or through that viewing window on the underside, and eliminating the risk of rot from that double layer of pouch there. Okay, so I got it down this far. The pouch, being a secondary layer, is right here, and I've already got a little hole in there, so I have to go and be very careful of that pouch area. And that pouch area becomes an even bigger issue on the fleshing of the female possums on the beam. But I got about a 50% ratio on carefully saving the pouch. Even though it's trimmed off in the last step for the viewing window, it just does nasty things when fleshing it down. When your fleshing knife catches the holes in the pouch, and it tears that hide way bigger than what you would typically do for a viewing window. So you just want to keep as careful as possible as you can on that pouch area. On a male, they have no pouch, so it's a whole lot easier and a whole lot less time consuming and tedious work on the male possums, because you can just rip the front side, rip the back side. You can be tough with it and go and not have to worry about punching holes. And on my males, when I board them, I do not cut a viewing window just because I want to save as much fur as possible, and there's no pouch with a double layer of skin that will rot on me on the males. So on the males, you can just leave it with no viewing window. I'm working my way down. I'm now getting to the bottom side of that pouch area. Okay. As soon as I can see that I'm below that pouch area, I can put some good pull to this hide, and it becomes a whole lot quicker. And again, guys, this is for instructional purposes, and I'm going step by step and giving as many tips and pointers as I can here. So I am going extremely slow here and showing you the best possible option, in my opinion, for going and doing this properly. Once you get good at it and you do a few of them and you do it on your own, you should be able to knock one of these out in probably about 3 to 5 minutes. And you can just go put some weight on it and just yank them. Now you're going to run your knife carefully. It's easier to go at like a 45-degree angle or so, and you'll see where the muscle, not the muscle, but I think it's sinew, whatever's connecting between the body and the hide, you'll see the divider line. You want to run a 45-degree angle up on your blade into the carcass. If you go and you make a couple of cuts across the carcass, it's not a big deal. You make a couple of cuts into your hide on a hide that's really not worth that much to begin with. You know, you just want to prevent doing that. And it's good practice just to run a 45-degree angle up on your skinning knife and make your non-precise cuts and your accidental oopses into the carcass of the animal anyway. So now I'm working around, all the way around, just keep on working it down. You're going to work it down to the legs here, which will be coming up in just a second. Okay, grabbing the base of the tail so I don't strip it off my gamble rack. Grab a good grip on the hide, and you should be able to pull it down. And again, working above shoulder height doesn't make this an easy task. Now, I've pulled it down, I'm working it, I can see the elbow joints on my animal here. I know I can start working below that. Now, if you do it and do it right, I mean, this one was trapped in a Conibear 220. Oh, there's a little nick hole there. This one was caught in a Conibear 220. When you catch them in the Conibear traps, there's not a big blood mess from using a 22 to dispatch. So it actually does make a cleaner hide, even though most hides' recommendation is to wash them and partially dry them, just to get the water saturation out of them for better drying when it gets boarded. As you work your way down, you should be able to pull. You'll be able to see the divider pocket between neck and arm. You should be able to push your finger through and pull through that divider pocket. Okay? You keep working your way through there. Both sides. Now when you punch a hole in your fur, right there, you're going to punch a hole all the way through. You can run fingers through there. 2 fingers between 2 fingers on the hide, and then you can run 2 fingers on the leg and pull apart and run that hide all the way down as far as you can onto the foot. Okay? So we got it all the way down as far as you can on the foot, on the leg. Now you're going to come through on the other side. You're going to do the same thing. You're going to pull down on the hide. You can see the divider line between where the meat meets up with the hide. Okay? You're going to pull that down and keep working your finger through. You'll see it with the membrane right there. Pop your hole through. Now you got your hole. Okay? You're going to run 2 fingers on top of the hide, 2 fingers up against the leg. Okay? 2 fingers hide, 2 fingers leg. And you're going to give a good hard pull all the way down to the base of the foot. That one just pulled straight through. That makes my job easy. Now, leaving these long, it's a good thing on the fleshing beam. Leaving the legs long on the fleshing beam prevents ripping and tearing of the hides. When it gets boarded, we will cut these down to length so it makes a good presentation. But for now, my suggestion is to leave these as long as possible and go with it, okay? On this side, I can do the same thing. Usually it's not that easy. Surprising. You can just give them a good hard pull, I guess, and go through on them. Usually you can wring them out just like you do the uppers. And, yeah, leave the feet on. Okay. Now, come down and work in a circular motion all the way down the head to the base of the nose there. Working all the way around, same thing, 45-degree angle, roughly up, okay? You keep working it around in a circle. As you pull down, you will see, I'm going to try to get you guys a better visual here, because these are the issues that I have found on other YouTube channels. Other YouTube channels have skinning videos, and I had a lot of little discrepancies on